Franchising is the most misunderstood and most overlooked form of entrepreneurship. We're here to educate you and help you find the entrepreneur within. Franchising is not all about the French fries.
We find that individuals who are exploring business ownership tend to have a lot of misperceptions and misunderstandings about the franchise industry. So what we want to do is help prospective business owners make confident and educated decisions before moving forward or not moving forward with a business. Welcome to Unpredicted Entrepreneur.
Hello, and welcome to episode 73 of Unpredicted Entrepreneur. My name is Sarah Wasco, and I am joined by my colleague, Roxanne Rapsky. And we created this podcast to bring to you all things related to business ownership and specifically franchising. And today we are very excited to welcome our guest, Jennifer Uris. Jennifer worked with me a couple of years ago going through the franchise due diligence process and is now the owner of P3 Cost Analyst. So Jennifer, welcome to Unpredicted Entrepreneur.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited to have you share your story with us. So before we get started, just tell us a little bit about what P3 Cost Analyst is all about.
So P3 Cost Analysts, we are vendor management specialists, and we work primarily to help businesses run more efficiently and save money on their monthly vendor expenses.
Wonderful. So you did not have a background in providing these services prior to us working together. Tell us a little bit about your background. You were in pharmaceutical sales and respiratory therapy. So just share with us a little of your background and kind of your journey towards getting to the thought process of owning a business.
Well, my journey starts like most people. You go to college and you get out of college, and what do you want to do when you grow up? And that's a question I ask myself repeatedly. And I started off in sales, worked for a dental company, and then went into outside sales with pharmaceuticals and ended my outside sales career as a textbook publishing sales rep. And then I decided after my second layoff that I wanted to go back to school and become a respiratory therapist for a little bit more job security. Right before I started respiratory school, I met my husband and we got married a year into school. And I graduated and had my first child a year later. So I never really got super into my respiratory career. And I took the next 8-9 years to raise my kids. It was a great time with them. And we made a move from Tulsa to Oklahoma City in that time period. And I did a little work, did a little bit more respiratory work along the way. But I really wanted to, as my kids were back in school and more independent and didn't need me as much, it was time to go do something for me, something that I wanted to do. And I wanted flexibility most of all. I wanted to earn some money, of course. My husband's very supportive. He works for the government, very stable job, so I can take as many risks as I want. And I've been very fortunate in that respect that he lets me go and do what I want, within reason, of course. But as long as my family comes first, for me, that is what I want most in life. And franchising has given me that opportunity to put my family first, have a career outside the home, and have the flexibility of owning my own business so that I can do what is most important for me, which is take care of my family and then earn a living and have a career.
I love that. Yeah. I love that it's given you the freedom that you were looking for, and that Joel, your husband, is supportive, because we never recommend anybody taking that leap into business ownership without having family support.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wouldn't want to do this without family support anyways, whether or not I had children, especially with children. It's a lot to work and raise kids and keep up your relationships with your family and friends and all that.
It is. And there's great things about owning a business, and there's also challenges and struggles. So you need that person that you're closest to encourage you and,
Absolutely.
let you know that it'll all be better at some point rather than being a Debbie Downer or, negative about whatever it is you might be doing. So that's good to know.
So tell us a little bit about your process. You worked with Sarah. So how did you find Sarah? And then tell us about the process of actually finding P3, because I know you looked at a few different things, right?
Yes, I did. Okay, so rewind a little bit. I was just kind of searching the internet for how to start a business. I kind of had some ideas, but wasn't really appealing to me to just start from square one, but I never, ever, ever considered doing a franchise. So I came across SCORE and I called them, got an appointment. If you don't know about SCORE, it's part of the Small Business Administration. It's kind of the entrepreneurial arm of the Small Business Administration, I believe. And they work with entrepreneurs and help people. They have mentorship type programs, great programs. So they hooked me up with a local SCORE mentor, and incidentally, she knew Sarah Wasco and FranNet because Sarah, they work together. I'm not sure the capacity you guys could.
It's just a national partnership.
Yeah.
Okay.
With SCORE.
She's, after speaking to me and spending a little time with, her name was Linda. She kind of said, I really think you need to talk to Sarah. She's great at what she does. She can help you. She can help direct you. I really think a franchise might be the way to go for you. So I was like, okay, sounds good. Let's give it a shot. And so that's how I found you, Sarah. And then we went through your process, and there were 3 different industries, I guess you can say, that you had me look at. One would have been educational, and then the senior living space, senior advisor space, and then P3. And honestly, P3 was one of the ones that I kind of noticed when I was looking through the website. I didn't want to put too much effort and time into deciding what I thought I would be best at. I wanted Sarah to go through that process for me because it's what she does best. And it was great. I noticed P3. I thought that sounds kind of cool. And it was one of the ones that came up for Sarah to show me. So I went through the due diligence and eliminated one by one until P3 was the last one standing. And they liked me and I liked them, and rest is history.
Here you are, right? Yeah.
Here we are.
Awesome. So one thing that I wanted to kind of point out, you had a background in sales, you mentioned textbook and pharmaceuticals. So you were comfortable with a business that would require you to kind of get out, build some relationships,
absolutely,
market your business. And that was something that was, that we kept in mind so that you could work from home and have the flexibility that you desired for your children.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I didn't want to have a brick and mortar location. I wanted something that I could do part-time if necessary. Obviously, any job is ideal the more you work it, but I wanted to have that flexibility. And then also, and that goes along with the brick and mortar. I didn't want to invest $1 million in a business I've never had any experience with. And P3 really fit all of those attributes and fit into our lives really well.
Yeah. And you have family in California. And I remember you being happy to know that it was a business you could really work from anywhere. So if you were in California for 2 or 3 weeks with family, you could still run your business.
Absolutely. We are not bound by geographical boundaries. Technically, I own the Oklahoma City market, but we can work anywhere in the United States. So it's great.
So it's protected accounts versus protected zip codes, right?
Exactly.
You said something on our prep call that I really liked, and I want to bring it up today. You said you liked being the captain of your own ship, but you like having people around you that know what they're doing. So this kind of gives you that freedom, but you're, a very, I guess it's kind of, to me, sounds cliche because we say it all the time, but it's so true because with franchising, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And that it gives you that little protected environment support, but you're not answering to anybody.
Yeah. And I mean, there are, minimums and, they do want productivity out of you, which I think for me is good because I like to be challenged. I like somebody, I don't necessarily like somebody telling me what I need to do every day, but I do like the accountability it brings. If you're not succeeding, they're not succeeding. So it is somewhat of a partnership, even though I own the franchise and they're the franchisee. It is in our best interest to all work together. And I really like that.
Well, and nobody invests money to not perform, right? You're not going to invest money
Exactly.
to not do anything. And you've got that sales background, so you're used to having expectations.
Absolutely. It's how I work best. I need those goals.
Yeah. And I think that's important because you're driven that way. And not everybody is, which there's nothing wrong with that. But that just, owning a business like this might not be a fit for somebody that maybe didn't have that same, I would call it, level of competitiveness, probably with yourself. You said, like you said, you like accountability, you like having goals. And I think that just kind of comes from your prior career, and you were able to transfer those skills over to this business.
For sure.
So just out of curiosity, you had looked at P3, but you had looked at obviously some other businesses as well. You mentioned senior care and the children's education, and obviously landed with P3. So what were some of the things, I guess, that maybe steered you that direction or maybe away from some of the other options? I know one thing that you liked was that there weren't really going to be any emergencies,
Yes. The senior advisor would have been ancillary to healthcare in the sense that a lot of them spend their time at the hospital trying to get business from case managers and social workers. And I have a lot of experience with that because one of my roles as a respiratory therapist was also we call it basically clinical liaison, where you don't just see the patient, you also get the business from the hospital. And I just did not want to go back into that. It's a crazy life being in healthcare. And when you're sales driven, those people spend so much time in the hospital, and then you're also having to be available to basically be a real estate agent in the evening and on weekends, showing these facilities, living facilities. I don't think facility is the right word for it, but they're the next home for mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. There's a lot of levels of emotion there. Mm-hmm. That I think would be tough to deal with, moving a parent or a grandparent into maybe term care or, any sort of living arrangement outside home. That's a lot to deal with. And I thought, you know what, that would be hard for me because I probably would take everything very personally, which I think you kind of need to do in that job. And I just decided that was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a little bit more of an impersonal type of business where I was doing business to business instead of business to customer, consumer. It was a lot of thought that went into this. It took a long.
You did put a lot of thought in it. I remember our conversations.
It was not a quick decision at all, because I really wanted to evaluate what I wanted my day to day to look like. And when you're in a role where you're trying to find the next place where mom, grandma's going to live, there's a lot that goes into that. It's kind of like acting like a real estate agent. You got to be able to do tours on the weekends and the evenings and when they're available. And I was like, I've got kids. I'm busy on the weekends and evenings, So it was a good decision for me to eliminate those. It was hard. One of them, I really liked the people and I really liked the franchise management and ownership. But I knew for me, it would be a challenge to live the life I wanted and to do a good job at that one.
Well, I wanted you to share that because I remember that. And I just think it's important for people that we have this conversation with every day. You really thought about what you wanted from the business and less about what the business, actually does itself. And why I introduced that because of your experience in the medical field. I knew you had a lot of relationships there and it could be a quicker start. But by the same token, I really like and respect the fact that you said, yeah, that's where my experience is, but I'm good with making a change. I'm okay with trying something and doing something different. And you migrated to the cost analyst because I remember you saying, I do this for my family all the time. And so you felt like you could bring value to the business owners. So elaborate on that a little bit more, because I know a lot of the types of businesses that you work with, you were sharing with us as we were getting ready, those, the leaders, the CFOs or CEOs or whoever obviously have a lot of strengths to lead their company, but there might be some things that are overlooked. And so you can bring value through your process.
Absolutely. So where we shine is we bring the expertise in that your CFO, your CEO is running the company as a whole. They don't have the expertise in utility contracts or uniforms and linen contracts, waste contracts, managed print contracts, taxes, the list goes on and on. We actually have a group of experts in each field. We don't generalize at all. We're specialists in those areas. I don't do any auditing. I just bring in the business. We have people that live, breathe, eat, drink, sleep this stuff. They come from the industries. They know what they're doing. So we bring a level of expertise to work alongside the business that they wouldn't have without us.
Yeah. And you mentioned CFOs are great negotiators, but this is
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we don't ever want to take away from that, but we bring something to the table that they're never going to have because they don't have 20 years of, industry experience in, uniforms and linens and waste. That's one of the biggest challenges to what I do is talking to somebody and saying, yeah, you're great at what you do. And yes, you're a great negotiator, but do you know how to go head to head and negotiate with these people that know their own language? It's a language that they speak. Small parcel shipping, utilities, especially telecom. When you get into the weeds on that stuff, and most people don't know the level of detail that you need to know to really effectively negotiate and make sure that you're getting the best deal on the contract. Whereas that's what we bring to the table. So we don't compete with senior leadership of a company. We work alongside them to help them really run their companies, their businesses more efficiently and save every penny that they have. If you had an employee that was taking money from you, wouldn't you be upset? Well, that's kind of the same thing. This vendor, they're not doing it on purpose, Nick. Nobody's out to get anybody, but it's a complicated world we live in. And as you go through these contracts, things can get keyed in improperly. Things can get, mistakes can be made. And over time, those mistakes add up to a lot of money. And so we catch those mistakes. We negotiate the contract with the client's best interests in mind and really are an advocate for them.
So that's a really good analogy. If you had an employee working for you that was taking money from you, you'd be upset, yet you could be losing money in all these different divisions in your business and not even realize it. And just so absolutely. To make sure I understand what you're saying, you work with all the businesses, but behind you, you have this team of people that are all experts in each one of these areas. So you have a linens expert and a telecom expert and a waste expert or teams of expertise in all those areas that focus in on just their area of expertise, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting as we start talking to these, we call them our analysts. A lot of them are, they'll all have a P3 email address, but a lot of them are independent. And most of them have come from the industry they're auditing and they spent years there going, there's a better way to help to help people understand this better. I have to be really careful because nobody's out to get anybody. Nobody's trying to commit fraud. There's none of that going on. But in our complicated world, mistakes happen.
Yeah.
And of course, too, when you're you're selling a package to a restaurant group, you're going to try and get the best money for you as the salesperson, right? And so
yes.
that's just human nature. That's how it's going to go every single time. And so what we do is we can come to the table with the knowledge and the background of years and years of experience in that industry that you just can't get anywhere with that unless you can get it. The only way you can get that is from bringing in an outside entity such as P3 Cost Analysts.
Right.
Unless you happen to have industry expertise in all of these areas, which is that's probably not going to happen. Most people don't. I mean, our tax auditor is not going to audit waste. He's not going to, our waste auditor is not going to audit telecom. It's just never going to happen.
And tell us how you're compensated. So do you charge up front for your services? How does that work?
No, we work on contingency. So we will go through the whole process and we'll do the audit. We'll do the forensic audit on the back end. And then if there are any overages, we'll fight to get those back and we share the savings. And then going forward, which that happens about 20% of the time, but really where we can save money is on the front end when we start a new contract and we renegotiate that. So basically say we save a company $10,000 a month. So that's going to be just added to their bottom line. There's no extra, they're just going to have $10,000 extra in their pocket. And so we split that $10,000 50-50. So P3 gets 50% of that and the company gets to keep that $5,000. So it doesn't come off their bottom line. It's a really efficient way to do things because we're only compensated by what we do.
It's a success fee.
It's a success fee. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
So a business owner, the only commitment from them is just providing you the information you need, and then you take it from there. And if you save them money, great. And it's a win-win for everyone. And if you don't save them money, you just say you're doing great and you move on to the next one.
And I think that's what's a really nice thing too about what we do is we're never going to charge for an audit that we didn't have any findings on. And that's really peace of mind for a business owner because they know that either they're going to find savings and they're going to reap the benefits of that, or they're not going to find savings and they've done a great job and we're going to shake their hand and just say, hey, good job. If anything changes, we can do this again later in a couple of years. But yeah, there are some businesses out there that we don't have any, we call it a no findings audit, and it does happens maybe 10% of the time. But there are some business owners out there that are super savvy and we're impressed by them and we love that. And they're a great resource for us because it's word of mouth and that we do what we say we're going to do and we're honest and we're not trying to take advantage of anybody.
Well, the fact that a no find is 10%, our math, I'm not very math minded, but can pretty much figure out that means 90% of the time you are finding savings for people. Yeah. So that's impressive.
It is. Yeah.
That's really impressive.
Well, let's switch channels a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about the accountability group that you're in. I want to talk a little bit about the support that you get from your fellow franchisees and how you guys work together and share best practices. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, there's a group of us, about 7, 8 of us that it's grown a little bit. There might be 9 of us that we try and get together once to twice a month on a call similar to this. We don't record it. And we discuss our frustrations, what's working, what's not working, where we're finding new opportunities, all the things. It's great because, you can be kind of a lone ranger as a franchise owner. And I love having those other people to bounce ideas off, just check in with. You don't feel so alone. And, we have that. And, that's just something we do on the side. One of our franchisees just organized that. And then there's other ways to get involved too. Any of our, CEO, president, our CFO, our, VP of, trying to think what his VP of operations means. should know Scott Swearingen's title better, but I don't.
That's okay.
Anyways, we can always pick up the phone anytime and talk to them. It's open door, open phone policy. It's really great. I really love the relationships that I can build. Franchisees with P3 are great. They're generally open to sharing. Most people are not competitive. They know there's enough business to go around. So it's a really great franchise to be a part of.
That's great to hear.
It is great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, if someone was thinking about owning a business, I know that, everybody's kind of watching and people may want to own a business, but don't know how to make that happen. They're scared, what have you. Is there a tip that you would give maybe a prospective business owner that is trying to decide if they want to pursue business ownership?
Well, I would say take your time and really, really talk to people, understand what you're getting involved in. The more research you do, the better you're going to feel about it. And sometimes it's okay to just say, you know what, this is not the right thing at the right time for me, and come back to it later. I think the worst thing to do would be to rush into something and fail, not because you weren't good enough, but because it wasn't the right fit for you. Or the right fit for you at this time. Talking to Sarah was amazing because the depth of knowledge that they have, not just in the franchises they bring to the table, but she learns about me. She learned about me. There's a whole inventory. I think just take your time, figure out what you want your life to look like. I guarantee there's something out there that will fit that within time constraints, the, monetary parameters. There's so much out there to do. And as you start, looking at all the opportunities, it can be overwhelming, which is why it's important to bring somebody like FranNet in, because they can help you to narrow those choices down.
And not feel like you have to look at all of them, right?
Yeah,
it was overwhelming.
Yeah, I can only imagine trying to do research on my own. I can't imagine, even though I'm in the industry. I
ended up with the McDonald's franchise. What else do you do?
Right, exactly. Right.
Well, if I owned a business and I wanted you to look at my expenses and find where I could save some money, how would I get a hold of you?
Well, I can be reached at, my email address is juris@costanalyst.com. And if you, let's see if I can squeeze to the side, if you take that P3 off and if you go to costanalyst.com, that's our website. And there is a map on there. And you can find Oklahoma and get in touch with me there. We're always available. It's great. I'd give my phone number out, but I'm going to wait till somebody emails me to give that to them.
Okay. All right. That's awesome.
Cost Analyst. I always want to slide the wrong direction. Costanalyst.com to that at the end. And that's our website. Like I said, I think there's a franchisee, or can't remember where exactly you click on there, but there is a map that you can locate me.
Okay.
Or juris@costanalyst.com.
And you are in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Outside of Oklahoma City.
Yep. Just outside.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Jennifer, and taking time out.
It was fun.
Yeah. So those of you that are listening, please follow Sarah and I on LinkedIn. We're very active there. I'm Roxanne Rapske, Rapske. Sarah, her last name is Waskow, Waskow. You can also find us on our YouTube channel at FranNet of Dallas, Fort Worth, and Oklahoma. And you can find Unpredicted Entrepreneur on any of the podcasting platforms. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye-bye.